don't do your memory right. The conference was founded in 1972. I was there. I was in college. Some other people were there. But one of the great people, aside from Ray Bradbury and also Sparky Schultz, who were both mainstays of the conference for over 40 years, 35 years at least, Ross McDonald appeared. He was a friend of my dad's, and I was about 20 at the time, so I didn't really know how friendships were formed or how long they'd been around for until I actually read my father's autobiography, which was called Fun While It Lasted. It was the first of many self-promoting schemes to get everyone to remember him.
He was a master.
I would never do that. I would never seem to do that. I have a private cameraman who's filming every minute of this now, or what I hope will be a great biopic. Actually, Fanny's been playing. I have some things changes I haven't told you about. Caitlin, that's a hint. Anyway, enough about moi. Ross McDonald was one of the coolest guys. He was so cool. He would have been a perfect spy, actually. And it was a very cerebral, smooth kind of guy, I thought. The reason we're kind of doing this is that my father met Ross McDonald in Santa Barbara in 1947, and it came about this way. My father was 25, had not written a novel yet, but had written a couple of articles for Esquire, short stories, and had a novel in the works, and had an agent in New York who was named Marcel Powers, and she'd been the mistress to Sinclair Lewis for 8 years, and had broken up, but Lewis had married somebody else, and she suggested that my dad contact Lewis, who was in Santa Barbara to work in Hollywood for 6 weeks on one of his many, many films based on his novels. And Lewis was a very enthusiastic, kind of crazy genius in the twilight of his years, but he loved helping younger writers and made him feel strong to be with and excited about life to be with young writers. And my father, he invited my father to come after reading some pages of his novel in the works, and he read 75 pages of it and then said, you know, a lot of good stuff in there, but why don't we get rid of the first 72 or 3? And my dad said, you mean words? And he said, no, pages. Let's just get rid of them. Let's get to the good stuff here. And somewhat dismayed, but he took the advice and learned a lot about writing. And that evening, though, perhaps to soften that news to him, he said, listen, my stomach's growling. Why don't we go? I'm meeting some young writers, and we're going to go to the Casa de Sevilla. And Dad said, oh, well, who are these writers? Well, they're writers like us. They're Ken Millar and Margaret Millar. You should know people like this. They're interesting. So they went to the Casa de Sevilla and had a nice dinner. Lewis was chain smoking constantly, and everybody, he'd start talking, and everybody would watch the ash as it's about to fall, and then at the end of the evening, after talking about his life and with Dorothy Thompson and how Hemingway was a bastard and would never forgive him, etc. The Millars loved this too. They were young. They had each published, I think, 4 or 5 novels each. Ken had published the first ones under his own name, including one I think called Dark Tunnel. And he then published under Ross as John Ross McDonald. John Ross McDonald. Then he found out there's another guy writing called John D. McDonald, so he dropped the John part and just went as Ross McDonald.